Okay. If I could have everyone's attention, we have a quorum and it's 5:02, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Okay. I think I have everyone's attention. So for all the guests and appointees, thank you for being here this evening. And for those of you that come a long way, we try to be as efficient as possible to get you and everyone else out as reasonably fast as we can. I know you have a long road to go, and hopefully maybe you're going to dinner tonight, being it's Valentine's Day. I'm sure all the local restaurants would be happy to have you, and you can enjoy some local cuisine and a little libation. So with that, I'm going to begin by starting with the Health Care Commission. And we have Trishina Cheatham and Vice Chair Beidel will introduce her.
Thank you, Madam Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to introduce Tanisha Cheatham. I've spoken with her over the phone. I just met her for a few minutes. Very impressed with her work with Kaiser. She supervises doctors in 3 of the hospitals in Maryland and has a great resume. And I'm just so honored and pleased to present her and have her be part of the Healthcare Commission. So, Dr. Cheatham, if you'd like to come up.
Okay. Dr. Cheatham.
Thank you, Senator Beidel, for your introduction. I want to express my deep gratitude for being chosen to serve the citizens of Maryland on the Healthcare Commission. Thank you, Governor Hogan, the Commission, and the Executive Nominations Committee for your confidence in me. It is an extraordinary responsibility, and I'm privileged to be working with such wonderful colleagues. As a family medicine physician who has been caring for patients of all ages in Maryland for almost 20 years, I'm excited to serve the state in this capacity. As physician-in-chief for Kaiser Permanente's growing Baltimore region, I'm proud to have built an incredibly diverse workforce of physicians dedicated to eliminating health disparities and helping all our patients live longer, healthier lives. I hope to bring this same passion for advancing healthcare equity to this position. The pandemic has amplified issues in healthcare, but I am confident our team is ready to meet these challenges head-on to help improve the health of all people across the state of Maryland. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Cheatham? I see none, so you get off very easily. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll move to the Judicial Disabilities Commission, and Lisa Hall Johnson and Senator Watson is.
Good evening, Chair Young and members of the committee. I'm here to present the Honorable Lisa A. Johnson as a member of the Commission on Judicial Disabilities. Judge Hall Johnson earned her bachelor's from University of Virginia with a double major in economics and sociology. Received her JD from Duke University School of Law, where she received the Duke Law Advocacy Award, was the first African-American woman to serve as the chairperson of the Moot Court Board and served as staff editor of the Duke Environmental Law and Policy Forum. Judge Hall Johnson began her legal career as an associate in the Washington, D.C. office of McDermott, Will, and Emery, an international law firm where she specialized in energy regulation matters and complex civil defense. Desiring more trial experience, Judge Hall Johnson joined the Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office as Assistant State's Attorney. Prior to her appointment to the District Court of Prince George's County, Judge Hall Johnson was the Director of Litigation for Washington Gas Light Company. She was responsible for managing all litigation involving the utility and its subsidies, as well as advising and reporting directly to the General Counsel. She was appointed to the District Court of Maryland by Governor Martin O'Malley in 2013. Since January 2017, she served as the administrative judge. She served as co-chair of the Judiciary's Domestic Violence and Peace Order Subcommittee, and in the past, she has served on the Domestic Law Committee, the Civil and Domestic Work Group, and the Security Work Group. She is also a proud member of the Prince George's County chapter of Jack and Jill Incorporated, where she is also a founding member of the Willow Oak, Maryland chapter of the Lynx, and several of her members are here this evening. Committee members, I'm proud to ask for your support for Judge Lisa A. Hall Johnson.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you so much, Senator Watson, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you to the members of this committee for hearing me this evening. I'd like to thank Governor Hogan for his appointment, and retired Chief Judge Mary Ellen Barbera and current Chief Judge of the District Court, Judge John Morrissey, for submitting my name for consideration. The Judicial Commission and its staff, including its chair, the Honorable Michael Reed, has been wonderful in endorsing me and supporting me in this nomination as well. And as always, I'd like to thank my family, who's represented today by my mother, Lois Hall, who's here, and my husband and 3 daughters. My husband's on daddy duty tonight, which is very important. But I'd like to say that, I'm a young black girl that grew up in Prince George's County that always wanted to be a judge. And being elevated to the bench was a wonderful honor for me. But being elevated to the bench at a time where calls for criminal justice reform and increased transparency of the judiciary has been an interesting process. To have the opportunity to further serve my community by engaging any judge that does not rise to the level and the standard that we expect is a sincere honor, and one that I take very, very seriously. I look forward to serving in this role and making sure that all of my colleagues that serve the members, serve the judiciary, and serve all of those who litigate in the state of Maryland well, and address any concerns that you all may have or that anyone has about that service. I'm proud and honored to have this nomination and this appointment, and I thank you for your time. Please let me know if there are any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Johnson? Yes.
Thank you,
Senator.
Mr. Chairman. No questions. I just wanted to add my support along with Senator Watson and just say what a phenomenal leader we have before us. So thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you so much. Thank you
you.
so much.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, the next committee is the LGBTQ Affairs Commission. These are all, These are all new appointments. They're all for a 4-year term, so you don't have to repeat that. And the first up is Sarcia Atkins and Senator Augustine.
I wasn't sure if she was coming this evening. You are? I'm so sorry. Come on up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Forgive me, members of the committee. Senator Malcolm Augustine, District 47. I will just say I just gave her some bad information because I wasn't sure we were going to be in person, and so I blame myself for that. But she obviously has come forward and we're just so pleased that she is here because she does such tremendous work in housing counseling services and working on things like sexual assault that are just so serious. And I am just so grateful that she is here, and I wholly support her for appointment to the LGBTQ Affairs Commission. And so here is Ms. Sarsha Atkins.
Thank you, Senator Augustine. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here, especially in person. It's been a long time coming, so I know that this is first meeting for in person, so thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I've been a resident of Maryland for almost 20 years. My background is in HIV housing, primarily serving residents of DC, but also 5 counties in Maryland, doing a lot of HIV/AIDS advocacy work, as well as working for the DOD for the past several years in sexual assault and domestic violence. I'm really excited to accept this nomination and be on this commission, just being a voice for the LGBTQ community and a Maryland resident. I know that it's really important, and I'm just excited to be here. I know that this is a 4-year appointment, so I'm excited to be dedicated to this process and this service. Thank you all for having us here today and inviting me here, and if anybody has any questions, I gladly answer those as well.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Atkins? If not, thank you very much.
Thank
you
you.
for being here. Next on the list is Nicholas Augustine, and he is from my district. He has 20 years of law enforcement experience with over 6 years as a police manager and has a track record of initiating successful programs, including building trust between officers and underrepresented populations. He's currently manager of the Montgomery County Department of Police, and also he became a detective captain, director of the Major Crimes Division since 2021. Prior to that, he was captain director of the Patrol Division, and he's held many other supervisory positions and began with 10 years as a police officer. Right. Mr. Augustine has extensive awards and accomplishments, and he serves in Frederick as a volunteer as the director of the United Steam Fire Engine Company, and he's a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Gay Officers Action League, among many other community and professional services. So, Mr. Augustine, welcome.
Thank you, Senator Young. First, I'd like to thank Governor Hogan for the nomination to the Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. As a lifelong resident of Maryland currently residing in Frederick County, I have been fortunate to witness historic legislation that has provided equality for the LGBTQ+ community. This hearing being on Valentine's Day made me reflect on Justice Kennedy's authored opinion in the Supreme Court ruling on same-sex marriage, which stated, "Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right." While there has been significant progress addressing issues affecting the LGBTQ+ community, there are still many concerns to be addressed. As a law enforcement officer in Montgomery County for over 20 years, I read too often about bias-related incidents and hate crimes that target marginalized communities. As a member of the First Commission on LGBTQ Affairs, I'll contribute my knowledge and life experience to advocate for inclusion of the LGBTQ individuals and communities. Thank you for your consideration on my confirmation, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Augustine? If not, told you it would be easy.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Next is Joseph Clapsaddle. Is Senator Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I've been to Broadway shows, but usually sitting in the front. Had to pay for a ticket. This gentleman has theater, event, and film production experience bi-coastal and internationally. He helped produce programs at the Royal Ballet. He's produced or co-produced 14 plays and musicals in both London's West Side, Broadway, and Los Angeles. He has been a tireless advocate for the gay community from day one in this industry. There's no one better in my district to represent our constituents on this committee. I strongly recommend Joseph Clapsaddle. Thank you. You're very welcome.
I'm going to remove my mask while I'm speaking, if you don't mind. First of all, I would like to comment about the formation of this commission. and thank the governor for his nomination. Maryland is one of, I think, 14 states that has an LGBTQ plus affairs commission. So we are really leaders. And what excites me about this and appearing before you is the opportunities we have to be a voice for this community. Thank you for your time this evening in listening to us and meeting us. It's good to meet all of you. I have a real passion for LGBTQ plus concerns and challenges and inclusion because I was at Stonewall in 1969. And for those of you who do not know what Stonewall was, it was a civil uprising of the gay community in New York City. And I happened to be there with my 4-year-old son having dinner and my partner at the time. And I didn't realize how important that occasion was. But it's meant a lot to my family to have had that experience. I appreciate this opportunity to be on this new commission. We have a blank blackboard. We can do a lot for this state. I'm passionate and enthusiastic, and I do want to do a shout out to Lily Chi, who is in the House of Delegates, and to Senator Washington for, shepherding this through the codification period. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to respond.
Okay. Are there any questions? Looks very easy for you also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Amit Dahir, Dr. And Senator McCray.
Thanks, Senator, for the introduction. Thank you, the Governor's Office and Governor Hogan for this nomination. And thank you for the members of the committee for their time and consideration in this nomination. I stand here today because I am ready to serve the LGBTQ citizens of Maryland. As a practicing infectious disease clinician, I have deep-rooted passion in caring for my patients, in providing equal and affirming care to them, especially when it comes to HIV prevention and treatment. The HIV pandemic started in the 80s and still continues today. We still see the HIV disease plaguing our communities because we don't have access to treatment, HIV treatment and HIV prevention treatment. As one of the overarching goals of World Health Organization and CDC to eliminate HIV from the world by 2030, that statement was made in 2019. And the most recent, where CDC and WHO stated that we want to eliminate HIV by reducing HIV infections in the next 5 years by 75% and 90% in the next 10 years. But we are nowhere near that goal. And will never be if we don't continue our efforts to have better access to treatment and prevention services for our patients. In Maryland specifically, I see firsthand barriers to care for our patients through our healthcare system, our insurance companies, which do not allow us to provide the care we want. So I'm here today to participate in this LGBTQ commission so that I believe with my advocacy, I'll be able to make some positive changes for our LGBTQ communities, which are the most affected. And I'm delighted to be part of, with some of the brightest minds in this commission and with you all to continue our efforts to provide equal and affirming care to our patients. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Comments? No? If not, thank you very much for being here. Next up is Deborah Dunn and Senator Rosenpepe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dunn is another nominee with an extensive background in healthcare. She's a graduate of University of Maryland, Howard University, and Johns Hopkins with various degrees related to medicine, and has practiced extensively in the field currently at the LGBT Resource Center for Chase Preston. She's a trans health coordinator, and you can see on her resume just a wide variety of management experience and clinical experience, and I'm pleased to endorse her nomination.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank the governor for this nomination also, and all of you in the room today. I appreciate it. My name is Deb Dunn. I'm a family practice PA. My specialty is transgender medicine, LGBTQ, and one of a few expert providers in the United States in transgender medicine for the child, the adolescent, and the adult. My practice started in the mid-'80s when, with the onset of the AIDS epidemic, I got to see, I was part and instrumental in really helping people who were at their deathbed. Worked in the emergency room at Howard County General for 19 years, and many times I was that last hand that held that person's hand. I feel successful at medically transitioning my patients and feel extremely grateful for the quality of life that I'm able to provide for them every day so that they can walk their lives authentically. What I don't feel successful is to protect them against the healthcare inequities, housing and job discriminations, hate crimes, and so many other things that are discriminating still against. As a commission person, I would like to help implement policies to protect the human rights of all of my patients, LGBTQ people, as well as all of the people that I'll be serving for the Maryland citizens. I'm compassionate, I'm driven, I'm a hard worker, and I'm really excited to be part of this commission for the next 4 years.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Questions? Apparently none, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Anthony Fox and Senator Patterson. Is Senator Patterson here? Okay,
I think he is.
Didn't see-
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and colleagues, members of the Executive Nomination Committee. I am very honored and pleased to present to you this afternoon Anthony E. Fox, who presides in the greatest county in the state, down in Prince George's County, District 26. Mr. Fox has done many, many things, but his primary interest appears to have been linked to health care. Having worked in the health department in the District of Columbia, got so many of them, Mississippi State health officer, and he continues in Mississippi by becoming a health resource and service administrator. He also moved over to Fox Consulting Group as an LLC, so thought we better point that out. But anyway, looking through his resume and having an opportunity to talk with him, I have no doubt that he will bring good resources and good visions and direction for this commission, of which the governor has appointed him, and I'm happy to present him this evening to you, Mr. Fox.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for the introduction, and I also would like to thank the governor for the nomination to this commission and for you spending this time to get to know me and what I bring to the commission. I am, as he been a resident in Prince George's County for the past 8 years. Prior to that, I spent 13 years in Mississippi. Of my 24 years of experience, beyond 24 years of experience in public health, I have always been interested in the well-being of the LGBTQ communities. I am currently finishing my doctorate degree in counseling, education, and supervision, and am licensed as a licensed professional counselor, graduate professional counselor, in both Maryland and DC. As I see an overarching issue when we talk about this particular community when it comes to mental health and substance use and their well-being. So those are my passions. That's my area of interest. That's what I want to make sure that this commission really begins to look at real clue and great, effective, innovative ways of making sure we meet the needs of all of our citizens within Maryland, as well as I've been fortunate enough to, as a health department employee, to be able to work with both the Maryland State Department of Health and the Virginia Department of Health to really look at how do we address all of these issues across the full I-95 corridor. So I've been grateful to be a part of it, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity. And now I'll leave the room open for any questions that you may have of me.
Okay. Are there any questions? Apparently not, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Jabari Lyles and President Ferguson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It is a pleasure to be here with one of my neighbors, lives just down the street from me. Jabari Lyles' work is known across the city of Baltimore. He has been doing advocacy work with young people in the gay and lesbian transgender community for many, many years. Also has done a lot of incredibly important work with the ceasefire program, recognizing the unique challenges that the community faces and making sure that those voices are lifted at every opportunity. He is an incredible addition to this commission and appreciate the governor's nomination of him and look forward to the committee's favorable review of his appointment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time and the members of the committee. My name is Jabari. My pronouns are he and they. And a couple other folks I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank the governor for his nomination, and particularly the large community of LGBTQ Marylanders who've had a lot of trust and faith in my leadership over the years. I have been particularly dedicated to the positive the well-being of LGBTQ youth, particularly as a school teacher and a member of GLSEN. We still, unfortunately, have a reality where young people are harassed and assaulted daily in our Maryland public schools. And I know that every young person in Maryland deserves the promise of having a safe and affirming education. So that's a lot of my focus. I'm so excited to be considered, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Lyles? Apparently not, so
Thanks so much.
thank you. This is a new commission, and we have 2 more appointees yet, but I just want to say not a lot of questions, but we really like to hear about and see the appointees, and it's obvious they all have good qualifications. So we will move to Rowan Willis Powell and Senator Augustine.
Good evening, Chair Youngs and members of the Executive Nominations Committee. I come before you with Rowan Willis Powell, who is a passionate young youth engagement person who shares her work in suicide prevention and peer-led behavioral health initiatives. And so you all would, of course, know that she has come before us and testify. She is not, and we have a connection with the things that we both on with working with behavioral health. I really am really pleased that she is going to bring that voice to this commission, and I ask for a favorable report from you all on Ms. Rowan Willis Powell. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Chair Young and Vice Chair Beidel. It's so great to be here, and thank you to the governor for the nomination. Like Senator Augustine said, my work has primarily been with youth experiencing behavioral health struggles. As a young person that grew up on the eastern shore of Maryland in Caroline County and spent most of my life there until recently moving to Prince George's, I'm well acquainted with what it's like to grow up as an LGBTQ youth in a rural environment with limited to no adult role models that have similar life experiences to mine. And I know the importance of providing a supportive environment, but also having someone to look up to. My hope with being on this commission is that, one, it will provide a space to push more supportive environments for youth, both in school settings and outside of school settings. It's incredibly important that LGBTQ youth have a supportive adult in their life, and a lot of ways of doing that is by developing LGBTQ peer programs, but also to provide a diverse group of LGBTQ adults who are succeeding and thriving, so the queer youth in this state can have role models to look up to see that they can live and survive and thrive. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for your consideration.
Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with us today. Rowan has worked with us down on the Eastern Shore with Midshore Behavioral, so thank you so much for your contribution there, and I would just support her nomination as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll move to Joseph L. Toolin and Senator Elfreth.
Good evening, colleagues. For the record, Senator Sarah Elfreth representing District 30, and I'll just have to say I'm in awe of the qualifications of everybody before us for this important commission, and I'm so proud to add another incredibly qualified person to your list. Mr. Joe Toolin has a background in something unique, I think, to this commission, which is environmental policy and advocacy, ensuring that we have natural environmental spaces for everybody in our community. He has degrees from Anne Arundel Community College, from the University of Maryland, and in his spare time, outside of working for our beloved Chesapeake Bay Trust, he serves on the executive board of Annapolis Pride, which is an incredible organization here in our community, giving voice to many in our community. So with that, I am just so proud to highly recommend Mr. Joe Toolin for this commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Elfreth, and thank you all for hearing me tonight. I'm also really grateful to the governor for moving this commission forward. We become one of really 5 states in the United States to have a commission focused just on LGBTQ issues, and so I'm really excited for the future of this commission. And thank you, Senator Elfreth, for recommending me for this commission. You know, growing up here in Maryland, I know what it's like to be a person of color and as a queer person in a community that doesn't really support you. And I'm really excited about the work that we do at Annapolis Pride to kind of change that. You know, just this month, County Executive Pittman had announced that transgender and transition-related care is going to be covered for employees and their beneficiaries in Anne Arundel County. And Anne Arundel County Public Schools passed an LGBTQ history and African American history course that are going to be really important for the students in the schools. And so we're doing a lot of really important work for people like me who don't feel like they have a place in a lot of other places, you know, in our community, unfortunately. So I'm really excited for what this commission is going to bring as we move forward for, you know, hundreds of thousands of Marylanders here in our great state. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here. And at this point, I'm going to do something I said early. I'm going to make a jump for just a couple of candidates that came a long distance. So I'm going to go to the Police Training and Standards Commission and Dr. Michael Finnegan and Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair. I am very happy and honored to present to you Dr. Michael Finnegan. And I would just say that Senator, permission to use the senator's name, Carrozza, also is with me on this recommendation. I've known Dr. Finnegan for many, many years as we both have practiced together in psych mental health down on the Eastern Shore. But he has a 30-year history in behavioral health. He's a board-certified clinical psychologist, and he has had extensive work, not only with his own business in working with patients and families on the Eastern Shore, but he's also been very much involved with the Critical Incident Response Team with the Maryland State Police as their lead psychologist. He also manages Peninsula Addiction Services as director and owner of outpatient substance use disorder treatment, and also works with police psychological services. If you would look at his resume, he's been on the Governor Hogan's Heroin and Opiate Emergency Task Force, was appointed co-chair of Access to Treatment and Overdose Prevention Work Group by the governor. And if you look back to the next to the last page, you'll probably see quite an extensive list of continuing education opportunities that he has provided to various groups in the community. He is world travel, he's sensitive to our cultural communities, and so I'm honored to recommend him to the Police Training Board, Dr. Michael Finnegan, and he has his wife Claire with him today as well. So I highly recommend him, and here's Dr. Finnegan.
Thank you, Senator Eckert. Thank you to the committee, and just my appreciation to the governor for the various opportunities that I've had to serve the state over these many years. I've learned so much and hope to continue to apply that wisdom to assist our fallen heroes' families, our law enforcement, but also to the citizens to help set good policy for a challenging environment. If I have any questions, be more than happy to answer those to the commission.
President Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure that your wife is enjoying this wonderful Valentine's Day date here at the Executive Nominations Committee, so apologies for that. In all seriousness, certainly you are eminently qualified. As a recess appointment, this board is becoming ever more important as we sort of, the evolution of law enforcement moves forward. And one of the issues was the issuance of regs and around the use of force standards. I'm just curious your perspective on it and that process and what you see about that process moving forward.
I think that what is important is the collaborative efforts between the commission and the senators and the delegates in the state. What I have seen is so often the delegates and senators' motivation for implementing change are wonderful. Sometimes the verbiage that transpires in those laws don't accurately represent the culture, and I think that by communicating together, we can strongly support not only our communities but our law enforcement officers. A perfect example of that that's coming before the commission is the term evaluation. Evaluation is a death threat to any law enforcement officer that are afraid of losing their certification. I think that when the delegates and senators came before us, their goal was to strengthen law enforcement, to strengthen the capacity of officers to handle critical incidents, deaths, horrible murders, and to increase their resiliency, not to provide an evaluation. So that, I think, is the most critical issue that's coming before us because of the great legislation and recommendations that Annapolis has made to strengthen law enforcement and to protect the citizens. And so that would be it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And following along with the Senate President's comments or line of questioning, first I'll just say God bless you for serving on this commission at this critical time, and thank you for being here on Valentine's Day. But
thank my wife.
Yeah, well, thank her. But along those lines, so as the jurisdictions have gone through with the administration of the PABs and the ACCs, like acronym soup with the accountability boards and the administrative charging committees, some of those regs have been slow to come, and the jurisdictions need those regs to go forward and implement those requirements. Just wondering how you see that coming along. What has the conversation been like? Are we on track and on time?
I think that we're increasing the frequency with which we're having meetings. We're scheduled to have quarterly meetings, and this year we have another meeting this coming Wednesday, which is not part of our quarterly meetings. We've had at least 2 of those, and so we're trying to address the issues and to clarify verbiage so that we have policies that will be utilized, right? Because the verbiage and what goes out to law enforcement departments really affects their openness to accept change, to facilitate change, to implement change. So I feel as though that this increased frequency with which we are having meetings is reflective of the degree of motivation of the commission to make changes and implement the policies that that the senators and delegates have been putting forth. So,
Okay.
but we have challenges, right? And this is a difficult time. As I think it was Colin Powell said, when decisions come to our level, there are no good decisions. We're trying to find the best, right? To find a balance that serves both the citizens of Maryland and maintains our law enforcement officers and their departments. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy dinner tonight. Okay, I'm going to jump to the Procurement Improvement Council to pick up Joseph Giordano and Senator Carrozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee for that courtesy. And I am certainly proud to present and recommend to you Mr. Joseph Giordano, my constituent and an Army veteran, for the Procurement Improvement Council. And Mr. Giordano served 20 years as a personnel administrator and training supervisor in the U.S. Army, and those assignments included NATO and the United States Military Academy. I also wanted to point out that Mr. Giordano, in 2010, on the Eastern Shore, founded Project Opportunity, and I think it would be of a special interest to this group that it's a free entrepreneurship training program for veterans. And the program started on the Eastern Shore, but it's actually been extended statewide and is now in Annapolis, Baltimore, Columbia, Glen Burnie, Prince George's County, and Southern Maryland. And from a personal standpoint, and looking at the committee members who I know have so strongly supported veteran-owned small businesses and increasing procurement opportunities. I know Senator Smith had a bill last year on that as well. I believe that we have a unique opportunity to support Mr. Giordano in his role on the Procurement Council. So thank you for giving me the courtesy to introduce my constituent Army veteran, Mr. Joseph Giordano.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano.
Thank you, Senator, for those kind words. I'd like to thank Secretary Owens for submitting my name to Governor Hogan, and Governor Hogan for recommending me for appointment to the commission. I am a veteran. I am a small business owner since 2002, and I was recommended to fill one of the veteran business owner positions on the Procurement Improvement Council, and it is my intention to work with the council to improve procurement opportunities for veteran small business owners throughout the state of Maryland. Does anybody have any questions that I could answer?
Are there any questions? Apparently not, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, the next on that list is Nancy Hall, and she cannot make it tonight and is going to be rescheduled for next week. And to finish that commission, Cheryl Brissett Chapman, Dr. Chapman, and Senator Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Madam Vice Chair. Senator Smith here to present Ms. Chapman, who I've actually known for quite some time. We actually did some work a long time ago when I was in law school at the National Center for Children and Families. So she's been the executive director there for 30 years. She has well-educated, Brown undergraduate, received a master's in social work from the University of Connecticut, and an administrative planning and social policy certificate from Harvard University. She's a professor, been an adjunct professor, and a renowned author. And on top of that, just a all-around good person and dedicated public servant from whom I've come to respect and admire for years. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to offer Ms. Bissett.
I would just like to,
right after her.
I would just like to thank the governor and Senator Smith and the committee for consideration on appointment to this committee. As you've heard, I've been at the helm of the former Baptist Home for Children, now the National Center for Children and Families, for 30 years, and we serve about 50,000 children, youth, and families in the region. and a great number of them are Maryland children, are in Maryland care, and they are vulnerable, and they are homeless, and they are separated from their families, and they're poor. And so I have served on the Council for the Procurement of Health, Education, and Social Services prior, and I think this is kind of a natural transition. I've been trained on the Bowman deal. Actually, I got my doctorate from there, and they taught me about these 4 frames: human resources, symbolic, political, and structural. And this commission would be able to stimulate me, and I would be able to bring a nonprofit, long-time nonprofit perspective to the formation of contracts and grant relationships, rules, regulations, laws, processes. And hopefully this would influence the commission going further into the future in a constructive way for the citizens of Maryland. So I thank you for your consideration, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Senator Lee?
Yeah, I'd like to offer my strong support endorsement of Dr. Chapman. I've known her for many years. She's a friend. She's an advocate for some of our most vulnerable in our communities, particularly as executive director of the National Center for Children and Families, where she's helped change lives. This entity serves homeless, and it's made a difference in the lives of many. It's a life changer, and the National Center for Children and Families is located in my district in Bethesda. And she's also not only outstanding background in academics, got her bachelor's from Brown University, University of Connecticut, MSW, and Harvard University, a master's in education. She's kind of like a Renaissance woman. And she's also been a leader in the arts too, promoted artists and just uplifted a tremendous number of people in our community. She's venerated for her work in being a consensus builder and bridge builder and bringing diverse, different communities together to work for the benefit of our state and our county too that she is in. So I think she'll contribute much to the important mission and work of the commission. So thank you for wanting to serve, and I thank Governor Hogan for this wonderful appointment.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Smith.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We will move on to the Board of Regents for Morgan State University. And first up is McCall M. Brown and Senator Hester.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, Senator Katie Fry Hester, proud to represent District 9. I'm honored to introduce McCall A.M. Brown, nominated to the Morgan State University Board of Regents. An Elkridge resident, she is currently a senior at Morgan State in the Earl Graves School of Business and Management Honors Program and anticipates graduating in May with a degree in accounting. In addition to being a full-time student, she's also a resident assistant, a fellow in the President's Leadership Circle, a class senator, not a delegate, a senator, in the Student Government Association, and a member of the Beta Alpha Psi and the National Association of Black Accountants. I'd like to welcome Ms. Brown and thank you all for your commitment to service and introduce you to the esteemed committee. Ms. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Black History Month. Again, my name is McCall Alexis Matheson Brown. I'm a Howard County native. I did attend high school in Montgomery County, although at Our Lady of Good Counsel High School. And I am now, again, a graduating singer at Morgan State University. I would like to thank you all for your time and by thanking the governor for his appointment to this Board of Regents at Morgan State University. This has been one of the most influential experiences I have had. Many undergraduate students cannot say they have served on a board in this capacity as a full voting member. I have been exposed to many individuals on the board. Congressman Kwesi Mfume has been a great mentor to me since my appointment, and I'm just very much so looking forward to my graduation and starting my career in public accounting. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you again for your time.
Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Brown? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here. And we'll move to William A. Sherman and Senator Pinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, State Senator Paul Pinsky for the record.
I have the privilege to introduce William Sherman, managing partner of Dinsmore Shoals in D.C. in their D.C. office. He was an undergraduate at Morgan State University, so I guess he will be returning there, and then a graduate of University of Maryland Law School. He specializes in mass tort class action and product liability, and he's been in the area for a while, practicing in this fairly significant DC large DC firm, which has offices elsewhere. We think will be a great addition to the Morgan State University Board of Regents. So with that, I'd like to strongly welcome and encourage you to consider William Sherman. Mr. Sherman.
Okay, Mr. Sherman.
Thank you, Senator Penske. Mr. Chair, members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to Governor Hogan for the nomination. I would be remiss if I didn't also thank retired Judge Alexander Williams, who submitted my name, and also my wife, who came with me today on Valentine's Day. I'm from Hamilton, Ohio. It's just north of Cincinnati, so I'm a little subdued due to the outcome of the Super Bowl. However, I'm excited and I'm honored to for the appointment to serve on the board of Morgan State University. I went to high school in Hamilton, Ohio. I was one of a single busload of students who was bused to the school on the west side of town. And I was a good student. I could have gone to any number of colleges and universities, but I chose Morgan State University. Morgan State University changed my perspective. Morgan State University changed my life. And how did it do that? Morgan State gave me 4 years of just eliminating the specter of race from my everyday activities. And it gave me an opportunity to get to know myself and to compete with the other students at Morgan State University on what I perceive to be a level playing field. And as a result of that, every student that goes to Morgan State University and takes advantage of that 4-year reprieve comes out knowing who they are, comes out trusting their abilities, comes out motivated to go and do more. I'm so proud of our student regent here who spoke so eloquently, and I am highly honored, highly motivated to serve and to give back to that university for those very reasons I just mentioned. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, thank you, and thank you for the great plug for Morgan State.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to the Parole Commission of Maryland, and the first up is David Bloomberg and Senator Kagan. Carter? Oh, it's Kagan on mine here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. It's my honor to introduce David Bloomberg, who's the chief of the Maryland Parole Commission. I've known Mr. Bloomberg for quite some time. Back, it seems like a long time ago, back in the day when I was a new lawyer, I first encountered Mr. Bloomberg representing a client, and I want you to know that I found him to be extremely fair then, and the other times that I've come across him over the years. David Bloomberg began his career working in the Maryland prison system, starting in the 1980s. His first job was supervising the library of the Baltimore City Detention Center. He worked at the center for 2 decades before his appointment to the Maryland Parole Commission. In this time, he advised 3 governors from both political parties. David currently serves on a number of boards, including the Midtown Kiwanis Club of Hamden Midtown, the Meyerberg Center Finance Committee, and the Roland Park Civic League. Since 2018, David has served as president of the Association of Paroling Authorities International. David is a lifelong Baltimore City resident. He received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in political science from my alma mater, Loyola College, now university, and a master's in library science from the University of Maryland. David and his wife Ellie have one cat named Dominique, and each enjoy reading and collecting movie memorabilia. And with that, I'll introduce you to Mr. Blumberg. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second, please. Senator Kelly?
Yes, David Blumberg was one of my old neighbors when I was before one of the redistrictings 10,000 years ago. In what was at that time the old 42nd district in Baltimore City, and Rosalie Abrams was the senator. When he decided Rosalie was talking me into running for office, I was running for the House of Delegates. David walked me through his neighborhood. He and I have been buddies ever since. And I would say if you're running for something and if David's for you, you ought to talk to him. He's really good at doing that, as well as running the parole commission. David, I'm glad to see you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Senator Carter. It's great to see you. And Senator Patterson, how are you? An old colleague from the Parole Commission. I'm grateful for your introduction and the work you've done for your constituents, Joe, and I appreciate the confidence that the governor and the secretary has shown in nominating me for my fourth 6-year term as chairman of the Maryland Parole Commission. I have enjoyed the opportunity to serve the citizens of Maryland since 2003 and done my best under 3 governors and 7 public safety secretaries to be conscientious, responsible, and always totally ethical in matters coming before me. I strive diligently to earn the respect from everyone I deal with, no matter what their current situation may be. Currently, I'm the longest-serving parole board chairman in the country and president of the Association of Paroling Authorities International, the organization representing the world's releasing agencies. Many of you had pleasure to assist over the years. I've known a lot of you from different endeavors, and it's good to see all of you. But I'd be remiss not to mention Senator Dolores Kelly. She has served as a confidant, a mentor, and a friend for 44 years. Her humanity and humility are surpassed only by her kindness. Thank you, Senator, for being a role model for all public servants. And I'll certainly ask her any questions you might have of me.
Okay, are there any questions? I know there's a couple people wanted to ask you about your coat.
Okay, I got this at Oppo Suits, OPPO Suits, and it was not on clearance. It was not. If I'd bought it in July or August, perhaps I could have done that, but it's a 48 short, so unless you're about 5'8" and 215 pounds, it probably won't fit you. But in all seriousness, thank you. I really enjoy this job. I work very hard at it, and I enjoy your support and actually seeing you all in person, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to John W.E. Cluster Jr. and Senator Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee. It's my honor to bring up John Cluster. He's no stranger to Annapolis and to many of us. Give you a quick history on John. He served in the Baltimore County Police Department, came in as a cadet, worked his way up through the ranks before finally retiring as a corporal. I'm sorry, what? Sergeant. Sergeant. I'm sorry, I got my ranks wrong. I only know my Air Force and military ranks. And during the Ehrlich administration, he was elected or appointed to the House of Delegates, where he served. He and I had the honor of serving together on the House of the Environmental Matters Committee before finally being sentenced to the Judiciary Committee, where both of us completed our terms on that committee. While he was on the committee, he also served as the chairman of the board for the Maryland Correctional Enterprises. It's an organization that many of us know. A lot of the equipment and stuff that we get, desks and stuff that we get refinished, come from there. It's a great rehabilitation program in the prisons, and he helped make sure it stays the way it is. He was appointed to this parole commission several years ago, I guess 4 years ago, since we're here on a 4-year term. And I've had the honor of talking to him several times about it and asked, you know, how's it work? What do you do? And trying to understand it. And I will tell you, he takes this very seriously. To him, it's an important job. He follows his cases, he reads up on them, he knows who he's going to talk to, and on something like this, that's what you need. And it's my honor to introduce and wholly support John Cluster.
Thank you, Senator. It's good to see a lot of my old colleagues. Actually, the last time here, Senator Ferguson, I think you were the chairman of the committee back then. It was actually 5.5 years ago. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. It's gone by really quickly. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank Governor Hogan for giving me the opportunity to be reappointed to the board. I do take the job very seriously as a former law enforcement officer. I think we have a unique position because we're involved from the very beginning with the call of an incident to the arrest, to the probable cause, all the way through the court systems. With being on the parole commission, now it gives me that very end of the perspective where I am now listening to the people that, you know, are coming up before us. I actually had two parole hearings today. It's a very interesting job. I think I'm good at it, and I think I've done a good job on the commission. I am the longest serving, other than Commissioner Blumberg. I am the longest serving commissioner. I am the oldest, too, unfortunately, older than David. He rubs that in all the time. And I did dress down for today, so I didn't want to embarrass the chairman. Actually, my son, who many of you know, Joe Cluster, who was in the House for 2 years, turned David on to Shinesty.com, which David now, they send him coats in the mail for free to show around. So Joe kind of turned him on to it. So anyway, I want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Senator.
If not, thank you. And lost my place for a second. Number? 16. Okay, yes. Jane Chase Miller, Senator Riley.
Thank you very much. Hi. How are you? Good. They see the list of their best friends. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I have to share it with you. I've never seen a resume like this. This is a very well-traveled person who has accepted challenge after challenge. After getting her undergraduate degree from Chestnut Hill College, she got her Juris Doctorate from Dickinson School of Law in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Then she became a law clerk. Then she became a research assistant. Then she became an assistant state's attorney. She practiced in private practice and then became a special prosecutor, a public defender, a trust clerk, back to private practice, and now on the parole commission since September 2016. There's very, very few people who bring this breadth of experience and success in what she's done to this commission. So I strongly recommend her appointment. Ms. Miller?
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us. It's nice to see everybody in person. For many of you, my name is Jade Miller. I served 5 years on the Maryland Parole Commission, and thank the governor for the nomination for a second term, the full term being a 6-year term. I am a former prosecutor, worked as a state's attorney, primarily doing narcotics work and gun interdiction cases. And then moved on to private practice where I also worked with the public defender's office, represented individual clients. I also had a family law practice over on the Eastern Shore here in Anne Arundel County. And it's nice to be able to take all of that background and bring that perspective to the Parole Commission. Working with different people, situations people can get themselves in. I'm also a trained mediator, certified, continuing that work where I am now. And it brings the ability to be able to listen to people, sometimes in uncomfortable situations, for the cases that we hear. So I thank the governor for the nomination. I will also indicate, working with the chairman and Commissioner Cluster, all of us have a healthy mutual respect for each other, very professional, and all the different perspectives that each of us bring to the cases that we hear. So thank you all for considering the nomination that the governor has put before you. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. It's nice to see you.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Biden.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Sitting here listening to the parole, I don't know a lot about parole and probation, but I just wonder, do you all work with the reentry programs? More and more we're hearing about reentry. We hear it through apprenticeships and unions. Is that something that you all help with as the parole and probation officers?
So we are not parole and probation officers. As parole commissioners, we actually hear people who come before us. The cases we hear in person are life sentences, generally murder, rape. We also do parole revocation hearings. In those particular cases, we are familiar with reentry programs, can make recommendations to inmates and also case managers in the Division of Corrections. And in being part of the community, we become familiar, like sitting here this evening, there are a number of different people that we may want to talk to who may be able to provide services. Careful enough not to recommend to an inmate what program they pick, but to recommend that maybe they consider some of those programs when they're going to be released. But a parole and probation agent who is actively working with somebody on probation or on parole would be someone who had more hands-on with that type of service.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
The next person on the agenda is for the Port Commission of Maryland. She could not make it tonight and will be rescheduled for next week. So we'll move to the Board of Trustees of the Office of Public Defender. And the first person is David Harbin. And David graduated from Duquesne, was an assistant public defender, handling felony, misdemeanor, and juvenile matters in the district court and circuit court in Frederick and Washington County. He's been practicing criminal law cases as a private attorney, centering on DUI, DWI, criminal law, and serious traffic offenses and juvenile cases. He served on the board of directors of the Maryland Criminal Defense Attorney Association, and he's been on the Washington County Bar Association, both as vice president and a member of the board, and on the governor's judicial nominating committee, and have several statements of residents saying what a good lawyer he is, and they'd recommend him. So,
thank you, Chairman Young. I wanted to first thank you for all that you do for Frederick. That's where I live, and I have one of my offices. I also wanted to thank Senator Quarterman, where I have my other office up in Washington County, for all he does as well. And of course, I want to thank Governor Hogan for this appointment to this very important organization, an organization that's near and dear to my heart. The mission of the Office of Public Defender is an integral part of our criminal justice system. At its core, it's safeguarding the constitutional rights of an accused who could not otherwise afford an attorney like myself. And it not only provides that representation, competent representation, it helps assist in the administration of justice and helps resolve matters in a timely fashion. That helps not only the defendants, but well as victims get peace of mind from cases being resolved, and the wheels of justice keep turning. The Public Defender's Office also helps clients obtain vital services like drug and alcohol counseling, mental health treatment, other programs to help reduce the chance of reoffending. I'm an alum of the Public Defender's Office. I chose to move to Maryland back in 2004. I chose to make Frederick my home, and I worked for the Public Defender's Office for approximately 5 years. And what the services they provide are instrumental. And I can tell you, being experienced with other states and other public defender offices, I think we should all be proud that it's not just hyperbole. I believe we have the best public defender organization in the country. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to speak.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I see none, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll go to the State Higher Education Labor Relations Board, and Erin Roth and Senator Washington.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Senator Mary Washington, it is good to see all of you in person. Chair Young, Vice Chair Beidel, and members of the Executive Nomination Committee, I'd like to recommend and highly recommend the nomination of Erin Roth to the Maryland State Higher Education Labor Relations Board. Ms. Roth, in addition to being a resident of the 43rd District, has leveraged her Master's of Arts in Public Policy from Johns Hopkins University and the Bachelor of Arts from Loyola University in Global Studies to have an extraordinary career in effective labor policy, workforce development, and adult education. Currently, she's Assistant Deputy of the Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning. Ms. Roth is responsible for Maryland's multi-agency efforts to implement the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, in addition to a growing registered apprenticeship program and a youth apprenticeship program in our state. Her work is vital to the citizens of Maryland who are in need of adult education. And also it includes correctional education and workforce information and performance. Some of her achievements include being the architect and administrator of such policies as the Apprenticeship Innovation Fund, the Maryland Business Works, and as chair of the state's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, she helped set benchmarks of success for Maryland's workforce system. She is a member of the Governor's Workforce Development Board, the Correctional Education Council, the Governor's 2Gen policy work through analysis, research, and coordination with key agencies and stakeholders. She also, I know it's hard to manage, she's done all this, she's also established and managed Maryland's Skilled Immigrant Task Force, and that it was recognized in 2016 by the White House. Additionally, her work on the Interagency Council of Homelessness, I know you want to, demonstrates her commitment to providing viable economic opportunities for the citizens of Maryland. I strongly endorse and support her nomination and would like to present to you Ms. Roth.
Thank you, Senator Washington. Quite the introduction. I really appreciate that. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and distinguished members of the Senate Executive Nominations Committee. For the record, again, my name is Erin Roth, and I come before you today as Governor Hogan's nominee to the State Higher Education Labor Relations Board. I want to thank Governor Hogan for nominating me to serve in this capacity, and I'm grateful and eager for the opportunity. With your confirmation, I will fill a seat for an individual with higher education expertise who is known for objective and independent judgment. While I have been nominated to serve in this capacity as an individual and not as a representative of my employer, most of my higher education expertise has come from my career with the Maryland Department of Labor. I started with the department in 2009 with then Secretary Tom Perez's administration and have been with the agency since. I've served in several offices and key policy roles for the agency under 2 gubernatorial administrations. For the past 3 years, I have served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Department of Labor's Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning, where I work closely with a diverse range of stakeholders on workforce and higher education issues. Also within the division, we have over 450 staff. So I've also worked on numerous employee-employer relation issues during my time with the agency. I have a passion for equity and fairness and have been trained at Johns Hopkins Institute for Policy Studies to evaluate issues in an unbiased manner. I'm known throughout state and local government circles, I think, for being a fair, independent thinker and for consistently inviting multiple stakeholders to the table to discuss complex issues and to find the common ground. I'm looking forward to jumping into the work of the board, and I'm confident that my skills, education, knowledge, and expertise will bring an important perspective to the board. And with that, I want to conclude by thanking you for the opportunity to speak today, and I respectfully ask for your confirmation. Happy to answer any questions for the committee.
Okay, Senator Rosenpepper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I've worked with Ms. Ross extensively over the years on all the workforce initiatives that she's talking about. and she's a terrific public servant. As she described, she's great at working with other people. She's great at identifying differences and bridging them and doing the right thing. So I'm very enthusiastically supportive of this nomination.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Senator Roosevelt, too. Thanks.
And batting cleanup tonight is University of System of Maryland Board of Regents and Robert Herr and Senator Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, Mr. President, members of the committee. It's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce and recommend Mr. Herr to the University Systems Board of Regents, a graduate of Harvard University, Stanford University Law School, where he was executive editor of the Law Review, Supreme Court clerk for William Rehnquist, our 48th U.S. attorney for Maryland, a partner at Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher, and a still even greater accomplishment, he is the chair of the Asian American Hate Crimes Work Group here in Maryland, which promulgates recommendations to combat hate crimes here in Maryland. And still greater, he's a father, a husband, and a tremendous public servant. It's my tremendous honor to recommend the highest recommendation for this position, Mr. Herr.
Okay.
Well, Senator Smith, thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you to all the members of the committee for sticking with me through the bitter end. I thank Governor Hogan so much for this appointment and for the opportunity to stand before you and to potentially serve as a member of the Board of Regents of the University System of Maryland. In my short time serving on the Board of Regents, I have been blown away, frankly, by all of the amazing, terrific work, first in the nation type efforts that are going on at the University System of Maryland. We have a lot to be proud of, but we have to become even more preeminent within the country. And so I've been privileged to serve in numerous positions in public service throughout my career, and I would be thrilled to continue my opportunity to serve the citizens of Maryland in this respect as well. And with that, I'd be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Great to see you again. It's
Great
always
to
been
see
a
you.
pleasure working with you. And it's, I hope that we will treat you better than the U.S. Senate. This is a little bit of an easier venue. But I'm curious because we don't have a U.S. attorney often in front of us. You were at the Department of Justice at a critical time. I'm just sort of curious in your reflection now that you're back in the private sector and have had time to kind of reflect on it, what your sort of biggest takeaways were as part of the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Well, how much time do you have, President Ferguson? Well, when I received the nomination and the opportunity to serve as U.S. Attorney, and now I continue to think that the Department of Justice is the crown jewel of the executive branch. It is so critically important to the functioning and faith in numerous institutions in our society, and really what helps the institution maintain its place within our system of government is the impartial way, the collaborative way, the open-minded, fair, and objective way in which we go about executing our duties. I shouldn't say we anymore because I am not a member of the Justice Department, but it's hard not to espouse those ideals in the first person. So I continue to be tremendously supportive of the ways in which particularly the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland can reach out, collaborate with local and state partners for the enhancement of public safety. And that goes not only in such matters as violent crime and opioids, which continue to afflict the district, unfortunately, but also in such fields as public corruption, in which the federal institutions are the ones that people look to in order to try to cure some of those problems. So I hope I've answered your question, President Ferguson, and again, I really appreciate the consideration of all the members of the committee.
Senator Rosenpfeffer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had not met Mr. Herr before he was nominated to be a member of the board, and as folks know, since I represent College Park, I take a lot of interest in the Board of Regents. And my experience is that some newly appointed members of the Board of Regents never return your phone call. And I have to say that Mr. Herr immediately, when I reached out to him and said, I'd like to meet you, we scheduled a time. We had a very thoughtful, at least what I was hearing from him was thoughtful. He may have a different judgment of what I said. But a very engaged discussion about the specific issues related to College Park, the campus, College Park, the community, and I just really appreciated it. And it's the kind of interaction that I look forward to continuing during this term. So thank you,
Senator.
Mr. Kerr.
Well, I appreciated you reaching out to me, Senator, and I continue to welcome your thoughts and your input.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mr.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Feldman.
Yeah, well, first I'd say, as a former Justice Department lawyer myself, I appreciate your remarks, although I would say also that it matters who's at the top there. There's a big difference, so that just throw that. The other thing I'd say is also, we just sent one of our colleagues, former colleagues, to the Board of Regents, Doug Peters. Keep an eye on him. That would be my only other comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Senator Kelly.
Yeah. I'm on the Senate Finance Committee, and we do labor, and we have, for the second, third, maybe the fourth or fifth year in a row, had bills presented to us to treat graduate assistants more like real professionals and to have them be able to collectively bargain. I won't ask you tonight, it's getting late and we've got to go to the floor, but I'd appreciate hearing your take on it. I worked as a graduate teaching assistant at Purdue a long time ago and have some strong opinions, but the committee would really like to get a better sense of what is expected nowadays of our graduate assistants throughout the system, and how we compare to some of the other major university systems that do have a more professional response to students' aspirations to be treated like real professionals.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the question, Senator,
Okay.
and as I'm sure the Senator can appreciate, that there's a lot to that issue. There are important perspectives and arguments on all sides of it, and I want to be careful not to speak on behalf of the University System of Maryland tonight. I'm seeking your consideration and confirmation to continue to serve on the board. But I can assure all the members that Chancellor Perman, all of the presidents throughout the University System of Maryland put student welfare first. They care deeply for the employees, as was reflected by the recent salary raise for all USM employees. And these issues are ones that are dealt with very, very carefully and thoughtfully with an eye to how they're being addressed throughout the country at other peer institutions around in the nation. So.
Literally, I wouldn't expect you to take sides on the issue, but I'm really interested in getting more information that we've been able to receive from the university system so far about how you compare to some of the other large state university systems that do have collective bargaining for their graduate assistants, both the research ones and those who teach.
Understood, Senator. I don't have that information readily at hand to be able to provide to you in this setting, but I certainly will return to Chair Gooden, who is doing a fabulous job as chair of the board, and convey your desire to learn more about this particular issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
That completes the agenda, so we will take a very, very, very short break and vote on the nominees tonight, and then we have one other item to vote on also. So, should I wait?
Stay on the same. Do I make the motion on the bill? Do you need to make the motion on the bill?
Yeah, we'll do the nominees first.
Do the nominees first. Is there anybody want to hold anything?
I would.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a motion? The motion is that we approve all of the nominees tonight, except for numbers 18 and 21, who did not appear, but we also include approval for all the statewide nominees that are on the list tonight.
Second. Okay, we have a motion second. Yes, sir, Senator.
I wanted to ask that we also separate another one of the statewide nominees, number 143.
Want to separate number one?
143.
123. Oh, statewide back there, okay.
We have to vote separately on.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to hold the two that were not here tonight and 123 for a separate vote.
143.
143, sorry. Can't hear. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Favorable.
143?
Second. Okay.
Okay. Motion and a second, approve 143. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. We have one other item. Senator Bidel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a bill that was assigned to our committee, which is very unusual, and the sponsor has asked that it be withdrawn. So I make the motion that we move unfavorable on Senate Bill 24.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's withdrawn. And I think that concludes the business, so thank you very much.
Thank you.